right, I will call the meeting to order, the POA Board meeting for Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. My name is Bob Bernetti. I'm the president of the board for 2024. Welcome to everyone who's here and everyone who's listening online or watching online. I will confirm that a quorum is present. All 7 board members are present today. First order of business is to ratify the minutes from April 17th. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to ratify the minutes from the April 17th board meeting.
There's a second. Second by Ed, made by Marty. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor of ratifying the April 17th minutes, please raise your hand. Passes 7-0. Now we have the board minutes, the meeting of the board minutes from May
Hey, Bob,
15th. I'm sorry.
I couldn't vote because I wasn't here on
Okay, I'm
April
sorry.
17th.
6-0. Mike was not
And I'm not
present.
sure John was here.
April,
April
it
17th.
was only 4 of us, correct? Yeah. All right, so
Sorry,
the
just
4 board members who were present that day are here today, and they've ratified the, okay? Pretty good bet. May 15th minutes.
I make a motion to approve the May 15th minutes.
Is there a second? Motion made by Steve, seconded by Ed. Any discussion? All right, I'll try your minds. All in favor, approving the May 15 minutes? Marty was not here that day, so it's 6-0. Okay, the next matter is the audited financial statements for 2023. I will turn it over to Mike Braddock, who's the chairman of the audit committee.
Thank you, Bob. So we have with us here today Todd Harms, who is a partner with Coulter and Justice. And Todd, I'll let you speak, and then I can follow you in terms of the board audit committee and what it has done.
There you go.
Green light, we good to go? All right. Also want to introduce Whitney Cabea. Whitney is with us, and she really is the oversees the fieldwork portion of the audit, and recognize her as well. And plus, if you have a really difficult question, I'm going to ask her. No, just kidding. Anyways, before we start, we're kind of getting close to crossing the finish line and having the financial statements ready to be issued, but we don't get to across the finish line without a lot of help. So want to say thank you to Judy and to Jessica. They provide a bunch of reports for us. There's a lot of work to get a financial statement audit put together, so they prepare schedules for us, and then they respond to a litany of questions. So thank you very much for your effort, and we recognize them. Okay? Next thing is, from a high-level objective, what you're looking for on an objective for the financial statement audit is you want to have a clean opinion. So what you have in front of you with these draft financials is a clean audit opinion, okay? The next thing to point out is we do not have any internal control comments or any internal control letters to be issued. So both those things are very good things, okay? Next thing that I want to go over is just a couple things with the drafts. There's a lot of information here that you can go over at your whenever you want to. We've met with the audit committee, and they had discussions on the financials. But if you leave this meeting and can remember basically 2 things that I'm going to point out to you, then you probably have a pretty good understanding of what the story of the financials are for the current year. Okay? So on page 4 of the financials, if you happen to have those in front of you, is the consolidated statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in members' equity. If you were in a commercial enterprise, you would call this the profit and loss statement. So what you'll notice there is membership assessment is higher than it was last year. So 14.1 million compared to 12.6 million. That's driven by additional members in the community, and also an increase in membership assessments, the fee, okay? Second thing that's significant when you're looking at the financials compared to prior years is related to something that's on page 4. You'll see it as a separate line item. It's called Paycheck Protection Program Settlement, okay? there's an expense there of $1.3 million. I'll also call your attention to a footnote that discusses that in greater detail. The footnote is number 12, and it's on page 20. So let's just talk about that for a second. Let me get there. So footnote 12, page 20. If we can remember back when COVID was real intense, the government was giving out different types of money under different type of programs, okay? One of those programs that was out there was called Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP for short, okay? So the association applied for a loan under that program in May of 2020. Subsequent to that, the government gave them a letter and said, hey, you used these loan funds as intended, and we're going to forgive that loan. So in the 2020 financial statements, if you go back and look at those, there was income that we had related to PPP forgiveness, okay? Everything that was very typical of what we saw in commercial enterprises with our other clients during that time frame, okay? Now, towards the end of 23, in November, the association receives a letter from the Department of Justice that says, hey, association, you may not be eligible for this PPP loan, and we may want that money back. So, received a letter in November, and then the association negotiated with the Department of Justice subsequent to year-end in January, and then they reached settlement terms, and then in May of 24, a settlement repaying those funds was made in the amount of $1.3 million. Okay, so that's where you see that as an expense in the current year. So why do we have that if we paid it in the 23 expenses when we really paid it in 24? It's basically under the accounting rules. If you have a condition present that you know of at that point in time, which we knew that there was this condition because the Department of Justice gave us this letter, even though we paid it after year end, we put the expense in 23, okay? Even though it was paid in 24, okay? Just want to make sure everybody's clear on the accounting for that type of thing. So anyways, the rest of the financials are fairly consistent with the prior years. So if you can remember two things about the financials, there's a little uptick in revenue with membership assessments, and then the other thing of significance is the PPP settlement, okay? That's my presentation. Does anybody have any questions on anything in the financials that they'd like to ask at this point in time?
So Todd, I'm assuming that means there was no new accounting statement requirements, no new rules that applied to us that had to be adopted, which changed the presentation.
There was a real small new accounting pronouncement. It had to do with collections of uncollectible accounts. It didn't change any of the procedures that the association does. It just changed very, very minor disclosure related to it. So, but no significant changes in the others. I think we did have a reclass on, just to make sure that the current, the way we classified something in the current year is consistent with how we classified it in the prior year. But yes, sir. Okay. Any other
Any
questions?
questions from the board members? Okay. All right, Mike?
Okay.
So,
If not, I'll turn it back over to you, Mike.
okay. Judy, did you have anything you wanted to say about the audit process at all, as from your perspective?
No, I just appreciated working, sorry. It was a pleasure to work with both you and with Whitney, and with the audit committee.
Okay.
Everything went
So-
very smoothly.
So I, as chair of the board audit committee this year, the other members were John Orr, Steve Snyder, and then Mike Harriton, who is the chairperson of the FAC. We held two meetings with Todd and Whitney on January 25th and June 7th, where we reviewed various parts of the audit, and then as part of the June 7th, we discussed the statements and footnotes and talked through a number of issues and revisions of what was the draft. At the June 7th meeting, John and I met separately with Todd standalone, and Todd did not identify any areas of concerns or issues or problems with the audit process. And so with that, I would submit a motion for the board to, or recommend that the board accept the 2023 audited financial statements as presented by Todd and as distributed in the packets to each of the board members.
All right, there's a motion to approve the audited financials and a second, motion by Mike, seconded by John Arguelles. Any further discussion from the board members?
Are we going to publish this audit to the website?
I was going, yes, I was
Okay.
going to get to that after we got done with the motion, but I'll just go ahead, Ed. So I believe, once the statements are signed later today, they will go to Judy, and Judy, you'll get with Beth, and those will be posted on the website within the next 2-3 days? Okay. Yeah, and they're in a section where all of the previous audited financial statements are. And then, just since I'm already talking about that, what will come on next is then the effort to complete the tax information return, the Form 990, and that we anticipate to occur in the next 2 to 3 months. And then that information will be also published as part of on the website.
Okay. Something Mike, you want to add, Mike?
Thank you. We'll just duck out quietly then if
Okay.
there's no further questions.
All in favor of accepting the audit? All approved, 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Before we go to the CEO report, there's one thing I did want to mention, that I was going to mention at the beginning. This Tuesday, June 25th, Tuesday, is the next town hall dealing with the sewer and water projects. The town halls usually are on Thursdays. This month, it's going to be on Tuesday, June 25th. It's going to be dealing with the financial aspects of the 5 sewer and water projects that were mentioned at the last town hall. This is probably going to be one of the more important meetings that our town halls, or meeting that the board has had concerning these projects, where the estimated cost of these projects is $36 million. So this meeting is going to be dealing with the financial aspect of these plans and these projects. So tell your friends and neighbors, this might be, if they haven't been to one, this might be a good one to go to. And the second thing I also want to mention is Joe Bogardus is not here today. In my 3 years, he's never missed a meeting, so I hope he's on vacation somewhere having a good time. And with that, I will turn it over to Chet for the CEO report.
Okey dokey. Couple good things to report. Tenacity bids for the building and landscape and parking lot and all the proper has gone out, and there are currently 7 bidders. This week, they will be on property to review the property itself as part of the bid process. They'll have 4 weeks to deal with the bid, and then the packages are due here, which we will then evaluate and present to the board and see how that all comes out. Currently, there are machines on property, yay, that is finally beginning the removal of the concrete in the old foundation. So that will start this week and probably will last 2 to 3 weeks, maybe, getting that done. One of the things we're doing, which I think is kind of interesting, is instead of hauling off the concrete, we have a grinder on site that will be chewing up all the concrete and using it for the parking lot, whatever we need it for additional rock, rather than just pitching it, reusing it on the property itself to take care of those things, which is kind of a good idea in my head. As far as the more contentious problem, the gas pumps at the marina have been functioning now for 6 days in a row, nonstop, no problems, which is a very good thing. We went through quite a few gyrations trying to figure out where the problem is, and to be kind, it is a very antiquated system. So we have replaced all the parts, it's operational, but we know that we've got to find a better way. And so we are looking for another vendor that will allow us to use the card reader, and we're looking to upgrade the pump system. Many people have complained accurately that the pump itself is very slow. And so we are going to look at the possibilities of taking care of that. And in part of the card process is we want to consolidate the vendors that we use for cards. On a side note, it was a little more than $600 lost in this process of those few days where it was up and down and up and down and up and down. And so much less than was anticipated that we had lost during that period of time. Other than that, we are progressing. As Bob said, we have a fairly important meeting coming up on Tuesday. I encourage all of you to attend. It will be informative, and there will be lots of contributors to help you understand the process that we are going through and all the time and effort that has gone into taking us to this place. It would be to your advantage, for sure, to come to that. I'm sorry, it is going to be at 4 o'clock at the church and on Tuesday. 4 o'clock at the church on Tuesday. Good point, thank you. That's it, that's all I got for the now.
Thank you. We'll move on to the food service report. Skylar's here?
Gentlemen,
Morning.
How we
or
doing?
afternoon. Tyler,
Good.
Skylar.
There we go.
there we go.
Food service.
All right, food service. Okay, today's agenda, we will go over the loyalty program update, the financial statement, KPIs for May, and some upcoming and recent events. Okay, loyalty program update. The beta is up and running. The committee members have all signed up. We are having some software issues at each restaurant has a different software issue currently. I have brought it to Aloha, one of the directors in charge, and we are getting the technical support elevated as we speak. So hopefully it'll be fixed soon. I don't have a date on when it's going to be up and running. Just for example, a couple of the issues we're having here at the yacht club, the servers don't have access to the loyalty button on their job code. Everyone else in the building has access to it except for the servers. Tokwa and Kahiti, you can sign guest up, but when you go to redeem the loyalty points, it says that they cannot find them in the database. But on my end, I can see them in the database. So just a couple minor issues they're working on, and hopefully that'll be resolved soon. But I have elevated it to one of the Aloha directors. So for the meantime, we're still using our text marketing. Okay, the financials. So this is the financials for the Food Service LLC for the month of May. Starting at the top, we have Kahiti at $77,300. That is an increase of $12,000 versus May 23. And you can see there the surplus subsidy. We ended up losing $1,200 there due to manpower. Labor's a little high over there. Yacht Club, we did $223,000. That is a $25,000 increase over May 23. And we ended up with a surplus of $20,500. Tokwa, we did $183,000. That is an increase of 34,000 versus May 23, and a surplus of $46,000. Bundle all that together, Food Service LLC for the month of May had a surplus of $65,000.
Hey,
Skylar, just a quick update. The
Yeah.
goal for 2024
Yeah.
on subsidy this year versus last with AWE, was it to be equal to or better than the subsidy from last year?
It's going to be,
Per budget,
yeah, be better. So we're tracking to be better.
And just one point of clarification, most of you know, but some may not. Have some new audience members in the crowd today. This report is LLC only, meaning what Skylar is responsible for when it comes to the food service operations. Department 60 is the way it is because it's Kahidi. Kahidi revenues are in there. You know, we have those two separated. Kahidi is not a part of the LLC yet, but will become a part of the LLC, we hope, by the end of the year. And we'll just have that all on one, in one division. But I just want to make sure everybody understands, because when Judy and Jim get up later and give the monthly financials, food service, theirs is all rolled up together. Maintenance in here, carpet, painting on the walls, those type things are booked to the POA side, and their report shows them both combined, the LLC and the operations of this building. So I just want everybody to be sure they understand that.
And the Yacht Club Activity Center
Is in-
is in these numbers?
No,
You got those out?
right.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
One question, where are you getting the prior year surplus subsidy number from?
The prior year, from the P&Ls that Andy turned in at the end of the year, from AWE. They have not been audited, they are unaudited numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's as relevant, given that it's apples and oranges to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So I don't, you know, to me, the important number is what Judy's gonna present. That's the real barometer for why we did this.
Yeah.
And then next year, we'll have a good relevant comparison to this year.
Sure.
On an apples-to-apples basis, but.
Would you like me to remove the 23?
I would. It's
Okay.
just misleading because we don't know what's in those numbers or not in those numbers.
Done.
Yeah, I agree, because what's important is what's in the budget and what you're actually doing.
Right.
Okay.
Question online, Skylar.
yeah.
What is the profit loss minus subsidies? That's from Chris Hofer.
The profit loss minus subsidies, or we want to get to that right here? Yeah? All right, KPIs for food service for the month of May. For the LLC, we made $483,000 versus prior year at $411,000, which I guess doesn't matter. You want me to take that middle column out too?
Sales are fine because I
Okay.
think that's pretty
All right.
apples to apples.
Okay, all right. Year-to-date, for the LLC, we are at 1.8 million. So for the month, we are up 17.5% versus last year month. And year-to-date, we are up 7.2%. Okay, hourly labor, we came in, the goal is 25%, we are at 26%. We had a little bit higher overtime at the yacht club, 0.2% increase due to being open 6 days a week now. Food came in right at 39%, and the beverage, we came in right at 20%, and for the year, we're 0.6% higher on the beverage and the food.
Just curious, I guess, why the prior month and year-to-date are not available for hourly.
I don't have all that information to go back through and dissect Andy's, the AWE labor.
No, this is not compared, it's just your hourly labor 25% goal. you don't have last month, you don't have year-to-date.
Okay, I can put it on there.
I think it should be available now. They redid the financials, I think, to report that now.
Okay. All right. Gross margin. This month, we were at 67.6%, versus last year month at 63.9, and year-to-date, we're at 66.1. So that is a 3.7% increase versus prior year month and a 2.2% increase versus year-to-date. The performance to budget, like I said, this month, we made a surplus of $65K versus prior year month at $9K. So for year-to-date, that brings us to a subsidy of $76,000, which we decreased that in the month of May by 46% versus April.
And that year-to-date, you were closed for almost 3 weeks in January because of retraining
Yeah,
and weather
so
and
these
stuff like that,
numbers
too.
are honestly based on
Yeah.
4.5 months of performance.
Yeah.
January was a wash, and then February, we didn't have credit cards for 3 weeks.
So that hurt you quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So I think based on how we started the year, we're doing fantastic.
Judy, just to confirm, the metric we have, surplus subsidy, that's your net loss or net gain for this LLC, adding back depreciation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So to answer Mr. Hoffer's question, we focus on subsidy because it's a cash number, not a P&L. We are a not-for-profit organization.
I guess the last comment here, the last line, you say performance to budget, but you're just giving actual $65,000 surplus, but you're not actually comparing it to budget, at least on here, other than maybe the color.
Yeah.
You may want to have the difference, that say the 65,000 might be the difference, positive or negative to budget.
Okay. Yep. All right. So KPIs are trending in the right direction. Okay, upcoming events. We have our July 3rd party here at the Yacht Club. Tickets are currently for sale down in the front office. We've sold a little over 200 already. So we have that coming up. Our food service summary. Like I said earlier, we still have a few challenges with the Aloha Loyalty software, but we are working hard on it. For the month of May, we had a surplus of $65K. KPIs are trending in the right direction, and all of the events that we have been having, such as music night at Tokwa and the events here at the Yacht Club and Kahiti, have all been well attended by the villagers.
Skylar, for July 3rd,
Yes,
how many tickets do you anticipate, do you have a cap?
Usually we're right around 500-600.
Okay.
And just for clarification, have you reached out to the fire department and T-BART and
Oh, yeah.
those groups that are
Yeah,
going to help
it's
you
on the books.
with
Yep.
traffic? Okay,
Yep.
good.
That's it. Thank you. Yes.
Go ahead.
Levon Mitchell, I just had a question on that first slide.
Uh-huh.
And John had mentioned it wasn't apples to apples. Is Kahiti apples to apples because they weren't part of the LLC?
Yes.
Okay, so that is apples to apples. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Skylar? Thank you.
So before we move off of food service, I've actually asked Russell Beard, and I apologize, you all haven't seen this, it's very, very quick, but he came to the Food Service Advisory Committee yesterday and gave a presentation on employee turnover in the restaurants, and I thought it might be important, since we're giving a food service update anyway, let him talk just briefly about the turnover in our restaurants.
Russell, just for some
You
people
have to
may
hit-
not know you, just tell us your name and what your position is, so people in the audience know exactly who you are.
I'm Russell Bearden. I'm the Human Resource Director for the POA and the Food Service.
Thank you.
You have the clicker there too, whenever you're ready.
Okay. As far as turnover, that we've done really well in comparison. I don't have last year's turnover to look at, but compared to the market and what Knoxville is, we're sitting at 42% right now, which is not bad. The Knoxville average year-to-date is 48%, so we're still below. This kind of gives you the head count numbers also. You can see it trending up, and I think we've leveled off now. To keep 118 people, we need 125 on payroll, basically. And you'll see that spike there in turnover. That was in April. That was when we had some cleanup of the payroll system. There's some people that had left in prior months that hadn't been taken off yet that we didn't know about. So it did spike at that time, but the year-to-date number is correct. Backwards. Head count by the month is the same thing. We're sitting at 118, which is right where we're supposed to be at this point. It does go up and down some depending on the position. Here's one that'll grab you is the length of service where our turnover is at. You can see it's 3 times as much during the first 2 months as it is at any other time. That is pretty normal. When I talked to a couple of the restaurants in Knoxville, they were at 70% of their turnover was during the first couple of months. So the food service has asked that we look at some, maybe some incentives for longevity. And so we're going to be putting something together on that in this coming month. By location, full-time and part-time, you can see Kahidi is the highest, and then Tokwa, and then the Yacht Club. Any questions about that?
Any questions from the board members?
So what's the biggest reason people leaving?
Well, real interesting. I'm used to doing exit interviews, but these folks are different. They quit. They don't come back. You never see them again. They
You don't get
answer
any
the phone.
reasons?
So I have a few, but
Okay.
not many. And during the first 2 months, it could be their schedule. They said, yeah, they'll work Sundays, and they don't, or they just don't show up. We have implemented something now, a no-call, no-show, they're gone.
Okay.
We just can't afford to let that continue to happen. So we
Okay.
implemented that the first year, so that's probably a little bit of the turnover because they're not used to that. But you've got mostly folks who are under 23 years old.
Mhm.
So, but the reason is not, there is money involved for a couple of positions
Okay.
here, but we're going to be working on that also.
Okay, so we're paying market salaries basically, but, and I know some places people don't want to come to Kahidi because it's more of a drive, some of the workers and things like that, but, I mean, are we getting, like cooks are getting $4 or $5 more an hour than what we're paying, or is there,
No, sir.
nothing like that, okay.
Well, actually, we haven't had as much trouble filling Kahidi because we're recruiting from that area,
Okay.
Sweetwater and Vonore and those areas.
Okay.
So we started recruiting from there instead of Knoxville. So
Okay.
they're not going to stay if they
Yeah.
drive that far. We're not paying market for the cooks.
Okay,
We are paying $14, $15 an hour, and like Tennessee National is at 22. Most of the market is at 18.
okay,
So that is a problem. Given that and lower than average, I think our management has done very well
Okay.
keeping their folks here.
okay, thank you.
Anything further from Russell?
Thank you.
Thank you. And the May financial report, Judy?
Hello, everyone. Okay, let's start off with a reminder of our financial goals. Maintain our excellent financial condition, control our spending and reduce subsidies, and contribute $8 to $10 million to reserves. That's from our budget. As Mike pointed out, our audit is now complete, and we will soon have the results posted on the website, and we will then proceed with the preparation of our tax returns, the Form 90 and 990T. Our goal is to get those completed in August. Let's look at some of our balance sheet results. Our cash balance is up by $2.3 million since December. This balance is down $975,000 from the end of April after making our PPP litigation settlement payment of $1,362,000 at the end of May. Looking at our total liabilities are $661,000 greater than December 2023 balance. The largest source of the change in this liability balance is the increase in unearned revenue. Our debt-to-equity ratio continues to improve and is now 18% compared to 23% at the end of December. We have a stable financial leverage position. Looking at our accounts receivable and our allowance for doubtful accounts, the health of our AR remains strong. The quality of our receivables has improved since December from 59% down to 48%. That's the allowance balance divided by the accounts receivable balance. Accounts receivable increases since December come from flex payment plans being utilized, for example, in golf for the annual plans. Utility receivables have also increased about $90,000 due to the higher rates that are in place this year. And we're also capturing more of the tank install costs not previously being billed. Allowance for doubtful accounts includes 100% of assessments more than 1 year old, past due, excuse me. Some information on our suspended accounts. The balance due from suspended accounts is down year over year, even though the number of lots in this category are up. We have 125 unimproved lots and 53 homes with suspended accounts at the end of May, compared to 102 unimproved lots and 36 homes last month, and year-over-year numbers were 69 and 12. And again, suspended accounts are those that are more than 90 days past due. Looking at the unearned revenue balance, we have it's $6.6 million. That's down approximately $200,000 from April. This balance includes utility service assessments, which is where we put the tanks in the ground, of $2.9 million. Golf-related prepayments are $1.4 million, and unearned residential sewer system maintenance revenue is $475,000. That's where we take the fee on your water sewer bill, and we use that money to make repairs at your house if your pump breaks, tank is broken. Food service banquet deposits and gift certificates are $46,000. Overall, this
Rec center do not get preferred pricing at the golf shops.
I feel pretty good about that. The suspended lists are provided to PZAC, our doc person, and also to the golf and to the rec, and they check through those lists, and I feel like they're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, just a quick shout out to that. There's the person, go ahead, stand up. Let people know who you are.
Miss
Come on.
Caitlin.
Caitlin is our person who manages that, and she is, I guess to be polite, ridiculously good at it. And we have found quite a few people who were in arrears and who were doing crazy things with their docs, and she's been able to hunt them down and help us figure out where the problems are and get them fixed. So to what Judy said, I am incredibly confident for the first time in a long time, we actually know where all those things are.
She's been a great ad.
Yep.
Here's a graphic representation of our cash, and you can see where all the balances are. And if you look up there, you'll see that we have $800,000 in our food service account, and they've been doing so well, we are pulling $200,000 out of that initial investment to help get them started, and we're going to move that to our Morgan Stanley account, get that invested. Looking at our long-term debt, I want to continue to focus on the CCI loan with it has a $2.9 million balloon payment coming due in December of 2026, and our golf cart lease expiring in September of 2026. Right now, the prime lending rate is 8.5%, and long-term average loans are around 6.47% right now. These were both in that low 3 to 5% range, so we'll have to give good consideration to that when those come due. Fiscal flash, before we look at the income statement, I want to give you a glimpse at some of the departmental results year-to-date. Again, these are variances to the budgeted surplus or subsidy. Departments performing better than the budget are on the left, and worse than the budget are on the right. And if you look down at the bottom, in summary, our gross profit, expenses, net income, and net surplus were all favorable to the budget year-to-date. Looking at our consolidated results here briefly, our year-to-date revenue has caught up with the budget expectations this month, and our cost of sales and operating expenses they both continue to exceed budget expectations, i.e. they are better than the budget. Other income is greater than the budget and is composed of gain or loss on sale of lots and equipment, and it also has interest income reduced by interest expense in that total. Our net income is 32% greater than the budget. Our net surplus is 22% above the budget. This is just, again, another glimpse at some of our financial performance results. As you can see, our revenue and net profit margin have both been trending upward. The slow start that we witnessed in January and February has been replaced with results that exceed the budget expectations. Our operating expenses are performing similarly against the budget expectations and prior year. Okay, looking at our revenue, our total revenue to date is $15.5 million, which is slightly favorable to the budget and 25% greater year over year. The May results alone were 9% better than expected. Some departmental results that are a part of that makeup: golf revenue is now below budget by only $19,000. They are up 10% year over year, and the May results were $92,000 above the budget. The shortfalls are still occurring in their unlimited and annual twilight fee categories, but overall they are closing the gap. ACC revenue is $281,000 above the budget, $68,000 better for May alone. They have completed 82 new permits to date versus the budget of 60. The addition of food service is the biggest driver to the variance the year-over-year results. But we'll talk more about food service and also the utility department here in a bit. Cost of sales, the variable costs were controlled, favorable to the budget, and in line with revenue. This can be seen by looking at our gross margin, noted on the bottom up there, 83% actual versus 82% budget. Looking at our operating expenses, notable year-over-year influence are obviously bringing our in-house, our food service management in-house. We still have some timing differences at play with personnel, marketing, materials, and operating supplies. Wages and benefits were over the budget. That's primarily attributable to food services. Benefits are also over budget, and some of these expenses were just greater than planned in the budget. Maintenance, services, taxes, and insurance are under budget and could result in year-over-year end savings. We'll discuss some of those further when we look at utilities and food service. Wrapping up our consolidated results, here's a look at the divisions that we subsidize. Divisions better than the budget at the top are accounting, HR, and IT collectively. General maintenance and rec. Those that are below, performing less than the budget right now, are road maintenance, food service, marketing, golf, and public safety. Our total subsidy through the end of May is $3.8 million, which is $8,000 below budget expectations, as in worse than. Moving on to the utility department. The utility department is water, sewer, and our utility tank installations. Our total revenue is $196,000 below budget, but improved year over year by $864,000. For the month of May, we were $99,000 better than the budget. Looking at the individual components of the number, Tank installs are $110,000 below the budget year-to-date, but $181,000 better than expectations for May alone. The budget was prepared on a straight-line basis. Historical results indicate that this is more of a seasonal occurrence rather than a straight line, and we'll do that differently next year. 101 installations were completed through May. There are still 237 single-family dwellings in the pipe, and 272 in total were budgeted for 2024. Water sales are below the budget by $157,000 year-to-date, but $334,000 better year-over-year. We were $99,000 under budget for the month of May alone. We've had a lot of rain and very little need for irrigation in May. June's been a little drier and hotter, so I think we'll see a little change in that department this coming month. Sewer revenue is better than the budget by $72,000 and 35% better year-over-year. Again, that residential sewer system maintenance revenue is included in the sewer results, and that exceeded the budget by $49,000 and is $7,000 greater than year-over-year results. Looking at our cost of sales, our departmental results are in line with revenue. Thus, our gross margin is also in line with the budget, 54% both for actual and budget. We are much improved over our 2023 gross margin of 47%. Looking at the water and sewer gross margin excluding the tank installs, it's likewise in line with the budget expectations and better than the prior year. We are achieving a 64% actual and budget gross margin, and 56% against the prior year was what we had in the prior year. Total expenses, excluding cost of sales for the utility department, are 11% below the budget. Our overhead costs are very well controlled. Drivers to the variance, maintenance expenses are $94,000 favorable to the budget, as water and sewer contingency expenditures have not been necessary. Likewise, services are $192,000 favorable to the budget due to contract labor not being expended for emergency repairs. Our operating expenses are $31,000 favorable to the budget. Supplies, gas, and diesel funds have been as yet unspent. Material and supplies expenses were $31,000 favorable to the budget. Some of the budgeted software expenditures for the meter reading were underspent. Takeaway, there's still some timing differences at play. Permanent savings could result if we continue to not need contingency repair funds. Net surplus results for the utility department as a whole are $1,173,000, which is 29% better than the budget and 118% better year-over-year. So despite lower than expected revenue results to date, controlled variable costs and reduced overhead costs to date are keeping our surplus ahead of expectations. Let's take a look at the food service. Okay. This is combined results. As Mitzi pointed out earlier, I report on the total POA and LLC results combined. We can see a very positive trend in revenue results following the slow start in January. Total revenue is $1.8 million year-to-date, which is $75,000 better than the budget. And this slide shows comparison with prior year unaudited financial results for AWE for context, versus there will be little to no revenue up there for the prior year absent the AWE results. Looking at the revenue by category, food sales continue to drive our sales. They're 58% of the total revenue, followed by wine and beer. Our net subsidy through the end of May was $244,000. The budget was for $176,000, and the prior year results with AWE were $419,000. So we're in between. We're not quite up to the budget expectations, but performing better than AWE did last year. Looking at our cost of goods sold, they were in line with expectations at 34% of the revenue. The salaries and benefits continue to exceed the budget expectations, They were $183,000 over the budget year-to-date for both again, collectively for the POA and the LLC. Officer and supervisor salaries represent 77% of this variance. Turnover and overtime also contribute to these results. Overhead expenses are favorable to the budget and prior year. We have an opportunity for permanent savings as we're passing liquor taxes along to the consumer. That's $50,000 of the total to date. Here is an overall highlight of the food service results. Revenue and cost of sales look very good. Our gross margin is meeting budget expectations. Total expenses are over budget primarily due to the wages and benefits, which are driving our bottom line shortfall. Net income and net subsidy are both below budget expectations, but improved over the previous year. Takeaway is there's great community support for the restaurants. Food service leadership is challenged to maintain costs to the greatest extent possible without sacrificing food quality or service. They continue to be innovative and try to figure out new ways to get us inside the door, and I think they're doing a fantastic job. Here is our reserve spending report. The total reserve spending budget is $9.6 million. That's that 23 carryover number together with the 24 budget total. Authorized spending to date, $2.7 million. Divisional spending by detail totals $866,000, highlighted in yellow. And then again, highlighted in yellow, you can see here's the details by project. Our biggest spending to date has been on the sprinkler system at Chota, new golf equipment at all three courses added together, the sewer holding tank and the elevated water tank, and also continued progress is being made on the Tenassi rebuild, and that's included up there. Here is our net surplus and subsidy by department, including the capital spending. Operational surplus of $3.7 million to date, less the $866,000 in capital spending, leaves us with a $2.9 million net surplus after that reserve spending. And over there on the right is what has been authorized for those projects to date. And then we have our two capital projects that we are running by you guys for approval today. And I'm going to let Mitzi talk to you about the beer cart. And then I'm not sure who will talk about the bocce ball.
Judy, just one point.
Sure.
Clarification. So, in the expenditure numbers that you've shown, we don't make accruals. The POA does not make accruals. So, for example, the repaving and PMM work that is ongoing, we just haven't recognized that expenditure yet because
That is
we don't
correct.
have the invoice. Okay. And that's going to be in the range of $1 million or something.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll start with the beer cart. Do you have in their packet all of the information? Is that, you all have seen that, I'm assuming, all the bids and that type of thing. And we've had the beer cart for a few months. I think this is more of a housekeeping item. It was brought up in FAC on Friday. On the funding request itself that you all have in your packet, they questioned the lifespan. They also questioned the return on investment. So went back to Casey and Jeff DeGula at the beginning of this week. And they went back to the drawing board, and even Jim Hinckley has helped with the actual cost and expenditures. So from what the original return on investment said, I believe was 1 year in your board packet, they now have got that to 1.58 years, and the lifespan from 15 years changed to more like 7 years. Casey actually worked with the vendor and talked with the vendor if anybody wants specifics. But I think so far it's been pretty successful. If any of you have been to Tenassi, you may have seen it. It's orange, bright orange. And for now, you know, food service bought it. It was a part of our investment money that we were given up front to try new things, use this as an opportunity to have some kind of food and beverage there at Tenassi. As far as the expenses and any revenues right now, it is being coded to golf, and golf has a dedicated staff member that they're using, actually 2 of them, and it'll be a golf employee. When Tenacity is rebuilt, our intention is to then take that beverage cart back on under food service and have a dedicated food service employee. Also at that time, because we will have food service permanently at Tenacity, we thought it might not be a bad idea if there's a huge event at Kahidi or a huge event at Tokwa, we would be able to use that beverage cart, such as member guests and things of that nature. We might be able to use that cart in different locations. So we don't plan for it to always stay at Tenacity, but that's where it is now. I think this is within Chet's authority, approval, and
Sure. And the bocce ball courts is really just reporting on, Timeless Teleco has given a grant to Parks and Recs to put in a small bocce court. It's temporary, just to see if anybody really wants to use it or how much use it gets. It's been installed and in place, and will be there as an evaluation, if nothing else, to see if people like the game and want to use more of it. It is a fairly temporary setup. It's nothing fancy by any means, but it allows people to play in a relatively consistent manner.
Any questions from the board members on the projects or the summaries?
Just a point of clarification, since, on the beverage cart, since that was not in the budget.
No, that's not true. The budget, there was money given to each department for trying new things in food service, and that was approximately $70,000, and it was determined at the point of purchase that we would use that money toward this cart to give it a try.
Okay,
So that was budgeted for.
okay, so because the write-up indicated 0 for budget, so that's why I
Okay,
asked the
sorry.
question. Thank you.
Nope, fair comment.
All right, any other questions from the board members?
And just ratification, I guess, on the bocce courts, there's 2 of them, and they're behind the Choda Rec Center, right?
Correct.
And to add to that, you have to be a rec member or buy a daily pass to use those courts.
Okay, anything else? And I'll entertain a motion on these 2 funding requests. We don't need them? We don't need them. Yeah.
They're already done. We just want, this is more
Oh,
of just letting you know what's going on.
No, we don't need a motion. Okay. All right, and, thank you, Judy. We'll move on then to others. First, anybody on the board have any others? Okay. Anybody in the audience have anything they want to bring to our attention? Mr. Drum?
I would. So my name is Rick Dram. I think I know most of you. Thank you for this brief opportunity, I hope. I've been warned by Mr. Snyder that there's a very important baseball game this afternoon.
Absolutely.
So I'll make sure my comments are brief. As most of you know, 4 years ago, I started an organization called the Conservative Club, and that organization has morphed into an organization which basically works as a watchdog organization over state, county, and occasionally POA issues. And, you know, we're not here to irritate people or make people mad. We're basically here to try to make sure that things are done the right way. And so what I'm bringing to your attention today is an issue that isn't directly related to the board at Telco Village, but it's the county bond issue, which is going to be costing taxpayers of Loudon County $115 million. And we have extensively looked under the hood to this investment and found it to be quite troubling. And so as an organization, I put out numerous calls to action to engage our citizens in Loudon County to at least try to get a study done. Now, the study is estimated at approximately $100,000 that the county would conduct to assess the future educational needs of Loudon County. And believe me, I'm not here because I'm against education. My children all went to college. My daughter went to PA school. You know, I'm a big advocate for college education. I'm a big advocate for education in general. I have a heart for children, and I believe that all the children in Loudon County need to have good, solid educations in order to advance in this world. It's extremely important. But I'm going to tell you, in all the things that we've discovered, this school is very troubling, to say the least. Let me put it that way. And the reason that I bring this issue to you folks on the board and you people that are here today to become engaged in this issue is because we have some very serious and important infrastructure expenditures that we're going to be asked to make over the next several years. And these are really necessary infrastructure projects. I understand that. Believe me, I believe it. But to ask the taxpayers to spend $115 million on a project that is very suspect and quite frankly unnecessary in everything that I can determine is crazy without a study. And we asked the superintendent of Loudon County Schools, why aren't you going to do a study on whether this school is even necessary? And his response was, well, I don't need to spend $100,000 on a study when I already have the answer. And I said, but you're willing to spend $115 million without a $100,000 study to at least convince us and prove to us that this is actually the right thing to do. So June 24th at 6 p.m., there's going to be one last final vote. This is, there hasn't been a lot of public information. There hasn't been, it's just been under the cover of night. Many of these meetings are, you know, small print and public notice in the News Herald, and that's the only way you know about them. Well, I'm telling you, at 6 p.m. on June 24th is going to be the final vote of whether this school is going to be built or not. And I'd like to see members of the board, maybe as individual citizens and not necessarily members of the board. And I know, Bob, you live in Monroe County. I know, Ed, you live in Monroe County. So you probably wouldn't be the best spokespersons. But, you know, they're used to hearing me. They hear me, you know, yell about this all the time. But we need to engage our citizenry. And it'd be really great if you folks, as members of the board, and you people who are sitting here and engaged in POA government would get engaged in this issue, because we're going to have senior citizens that are going to get double whammied. They're going to be asked to pay for infrastructure here in Tellico Village, and at the same time, they're going to get a property tax bill that's going to be significantly higher than it was last year. So, again, if any of you want to, you know, talk with me after the game starts and Steve's gone, I'll be sticking around. So anyway, I'll be sticking around, and if you want any further information, again, I'm not against education, and I just want to say that up front. It's just a project that's really, really questionable. So thank you for your time.
Rick,
Where is the meeting, Rick?
Okay, the meeting is at the Loudon County Annex, which is where you get your license tabs. Yeah, by Carmichael's, and it's in the lower level. And if you're going to speak and make public comment, you have to sign up at the podium prior to the meeting. So don't come 5 minutes late and think you're going to get on the agenda. You're not. They limit discussion to 5 minutes. So if you want to say something, have it written out and make sure that it's less than 5 minutes. Yes, Mike?
Rick, just a point of clarification. Who exactly is voting on this? And if someone can't make the meeting, how can they contact those individuals or
That's a great question.
group?
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. So there's 10 county commissioners, okay? And then the mayor does not have a vote on the county commission, okay? in order for the proposal to pass, it's going to require 5 commissioners to say no. We have Henry Cullen as our commissioner in District 7, for those of us who live on the east side of 444. On the other side of 444, there's 2 commissioners, Chase Randolph and Bill Jeems, in District 1A and 1B. We exhibit a lot of influence on Henry Cullen, and I want to tell you, Henry Cullen is one great representative for Telco Village. He really is. He's a fantastic commissioner. We couldn't ask for a better commissioner. The other 2 guys, they don't pay attention to Telco Village because only about 10 or 15% of their constituency in that district is Telco Village. The 85% is not Telco Village. And I've heard one say privately, I don't need Telco Village votes. I get elected by the other people in those districts. So, and honestly, I mean, I think Chet can attest to this, that the way that Telco Village is looked upon by the county is horrific. And the disrespect that we're shown by its citizens and I don't say that lightly because, you know, I really came here and there are some very fine people in county government, don't get me wrong. But overall, you know, we're just disrespected. We're looked at an ATM machine and a piggy bank. We pay 24% of county taxes, and yet the government services that we consume are very, very small, as you well know. So we have a great sheriff, and I would say police and fire protection is terrific, mostly a fire protection because of the volunteer situation, but you know, our sheriff is top notch. He you know, if there's any kind of an emergency in the village, he'll be here in a heartbeat, and he respects the village. But I'm just telling you that we are not looked favorably upon county government, and that's a problem. And somehow we need to rectify that. We pay 25%. We pay 1/4 of the taxes and revenues for this county. And, you know, they're saying the only people against this are, you know, you crabby seniors in Telco Village. And it's just not true. So, you know, Lori and I attended, and some of our members that are here attended a couple of meetings this week. They were very contentious. But interestingly enough, on Monday night's meeting at the workshop, there were 135 citizens there. There was not one person who spoke in favor of the school. Out of the 135 citizens that attended that meeting, everyone spoke against it. There was not a person in the room. Now, if I'm a parent and this school is really necessary, you better believe I'm going to be at that meeting to advocate for a new school. That just shows you that this school is not necessary. There wasn't one parent there. And then we went to a meeting at 10 o'clock this morning, and that was extremely contentious, and we had about 75 citizens, mostly conservative club members that were there, and we raised Cain about that, and again, not one advocate for this school was there. And anyway, I encourage you to engage, and if you guys can put it out on media, Beth, if you can, you know, put something out again. I know you did. I know you listed it, but maybe you know, we've been putting it out as a separate email, and if there's any way that could be done to get citizens engaged on June 24th at 6 p.m., it'd really be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mrs. Mitchell.
I had a follow-up question for you. We have a Governmental Affairs Advisory Committee. Are they involved in this? Is that something that might be appropriate to be on their radar? Or have they already researched this? Do we know?
They were a part of having the commissioner who is supporting this come and speak here last week. And our task, I'm sorry, the wrong guy. Yeah, superintendent of schools, my apologies. Our task, as per our charter, is to bring you information. And we try very, very hard not to get in the middle of the decision, because we're bringing in both Democrat and Republican, we're bringing in both sides of the county to talk about those processes, and we want to be sure that we maintain that, for lack of a better term, neutral position in how we present it. Now, each individual has their own opinion, for sure, but in terms of how the government affairs handles this, we're definitely giving everybody the opportunity to hear both sides.
Any others from the audience? Then a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
All in favor?
See ya.
Meeting is adjourned.
3:45 for the first pitch.